Hello, everyone. It's Nigel, Seeley, and welcome along to the latest edition of Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, the #1 tennis betting podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. Joining me to look ahead to tomorrow's action in the WTA 1000 event in Beijing is our WTA tennis handicapper, Rory Jiwani. Rory Jiwani, look like you're in a ghost house there. I mean, no light, like I said, from a horror movie. You're right. I'm worried about it.
I could switch the light on, but
I'm just worried that someone's going to jump out of that cupboard and take you into a land that we're going to lose you forever. What's going on? You're right.
Oh no, it's a bit. We're having this endless summer in Spain, so it's still like 30 degrees at the moment. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's October, and so it's really sunny still until 7 o'clock in the evening. So yeah, it's this, or I've got some horrible artificial light. So this is as good as it gets, I think.
Okay,
but I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm not going to.
I was watching a scene of Friday the 13th or something like that. I thought Halloween 2 or something. But no, you're right. Okay. Anyway, we've got 4 matches to talk about tomorrow in Beijing. It's a decent tournament. I mean, we didn't really hit any, well, all the bets we gave in the last episode didn't come in any good. I mean, I think they all got bet again. The reasoning was solid behind them, but the results never went our way, which has been pretty much the story of the season, unfortunately, for us this year on the WTA show. We have the matches in Beijing. I mean, we've got through to what round are we at now? We're at the last 16, or is it the quarterfinal? No, the round of 16. Yeah. And there's some decent matches here. Some decent matches. But before we come on to the matches, Roy, what do you make of the conditions? I mean, what have you seen from your own eyes in the first couple of rounds? I mean, I asked you the question off air, what's the condition like? And you said, is it fast or slow? It's a bit of both. So I don't know I don't know where we go with that one.
It just looks a bit too paced, which I know is a really strange thing to say. So servers and big hitters can do well, and they can keep the rally short, but the ball really sits up. So, okay, it allows the big hitters to go for their shots, but it also gives the quicker players like the Coco Gauffs and the Iga Swiateks and the Mira Andreevas, and we'll talk about that match in a bit, gives them an extra split second to retrieve. So we saw Gauff in both her opening win against the Katerina Alexandrova. I just don't know how we didn't collect on the handicap there. And her epic triumph over Petra Martic. You know, she was showing incredible athleticism to stay in the points. I still think it favours the bigger hitters. And there was a really good example just now. Jelena Rybakina was 6-2, and I think she was 6-2 and 4-2 down against Mira Andreeva, the 16-year-old Russian sensation. She was serving well, but Rybakina was just making lots of unforced errors. And Andreeva, she tightened up a bit, and Rybakina stopped making so many unforced errors. And her power hitting and her good serving prevailed in the end. So, you know, for a set and a half, you're thinking Andreeva, who, you know, she's a very, very talented player, but she doesn't really have any big weapons. And she was, you know, a bit sort of Gauff-Swiatek style, staying in points, just managed to drag out the rally and waiting for Rybakina to make the mistake. When Rybakina found her game, it was one-way traffic. So, you know, from what I've seen, and especially that match today, you know, it still favours the bigger hitters. And I'm still inclined to oppose Gauff and Swiatek in the later stages. It's not as pronounced as I thought it would be at the start of the tournament. It's not as quick as it was 3 years ago. It's not as quick as Tokyo was last week. But I still think it's one for the bigger hitters. But, you know, at the same time, you know, you've got to keep the unforced error count low. And that's where someone like a Sabalenka or a Rybakina, who almost went out today, that's what they've got to do. They've just got to keep that unforced error count down. I mean, we've got a few question marks over Sabalenka. I mean, Katie Boulter played the match of her life against her in a previous round. The Brit, she served for both sets, but ended up going out 7-5, 7-6. Sabalenka's serving in the opening round against Sofia Kenin was phenomenal. She won 22 out of 23 points. 96% on first serve, and that fell to 67% against the Briton. So, you know, Sabalenka, she's got to keep that first serve percentage up, the new world #1. And then we look at Swiatek, wasn't overly impressive in the opening round against Sara Sorribes Tormo when I've tipped her to win big. And then she did win big against Magda Linette today. She won 6-1, 6-1. You'd expect Swiatek to beat either Angelina Kalinina or Caroline Garcia in the quarterfinals, but then a likely semi-final against Kudermetova, who beat her in Tokyo, or Goff would be very interesting indeed. So, as I say, conditions they're tricky because they're not lightning quick. They're not slow, but there's a bit for everyone. But I think it's just favouring the bigger hitters.
So the bigger hitters have the advantage, and we've got 4 matches to talk about tomorrow. Now, all these matches go through the evening. So these are the early hours of Thursday morning, stateside Eastern time. So the first match is about just gone midnight, 12:30 a.m. They go all the way through to about 8:30 a.m. in the morning. So if you do have a bet on the match, you can live stream the match and you can watch it from the comfort of your own home, on your computer, your tablet. So you can nip downstairs and say to the missus or the partner or whoever, or someone else's missus, you happen to be around someone else's house, you can go around, you can go down and say, listen, I'm just going to pop downstairs for just have a cup of tea and then sit down and sit. I've done that many times before, not at someone else's missus' house though, Rory. I'm just going to
very quick to add that.
I just hear the dog needs some water. I've gone downstairs and just traded some Australian tennis for 6 hours. Brilliant. But get through there and get on the internet. Let's have a look at the first match, 12:30 a.m. It's you mentioned them, you touched on the game there. Kalinina up against Garcia. Garcia is the only player in the tournament who's won this event previously. So she has a record here, has a good record here in Beijing. She hasn't had the best of years, but the number 9 seed is the favorite here. She's minus 275 against Angelina Kalinina. Now, I've watched Kalinina twice on my adventures around the globe watching tennis, and I've seen her on a fast court where she's absolutely diabolical, and I've seen her on a slow court where she's a real threat. So this court conditions here, and Caroline Garcia, I think the quicker for her, the better. So court speed is integral. It's so important if you're going to have a bet here. The spread is 1.5. Garcia giving up 1.5 is minus 117. Plus 1.5. Kalinina is minus 108, and the total is 22.5 with minus 106 and under 121. I did think, did I give you the right price? It's minus 143.
I think you gave the Goff price.
I did give the Goff price. I thought I just confused myself there. I gave the Goff price. Carolina Garcia is minus 143. My apologies. And Kalinina is plus 117. A lot closer. Just going a bit ahead of myself there, Roy. I apologize for that. But I think this one here is all about how quick you would imagine it being quicker given the time of day it's on. It's an early match, so I can imagine the court's been a little bit quicker, which should suit Garcia, I would have thought.
Well, we've got a really good indicator for this because these two have met just the once. It was only last week in Tokyo when it was quick, and Garcia won 6-4, 6-3. As I said, conditions not as quick here, so that definitely plays into the Ukrainians' hands. I mean, this is the thing about it being a bit too pace. So Garcia served 10 aces and no double faults in Tokyo. She's serving plenty of aces here. So it's almost like the big serves are flying through. But anything else sort of on the baseline can get dragged out. It's really sitting up a bit like it did at Indian Wells. It's ball's really sitting up and sort of got that really sort of slow high bounce. But so Garcia serving plenty of aces. Kalinina, as you say, slow conditions, she's better. She's a real scrapper from the baseline. We saw when she reached the final in Rome this year. I was thinking overs might be a bet, but overs is high at 22.5. At the prices, I'd lean towards Kalinina. I mean, I think they were each of one, 10 to 11, each of one in the other last week in Tokyo. So Kalinina is suddenly odds against. In better conditions, I'd lean towards Kalinina here, but no bet for me in this one.
Yeah, I think this is really, really difficult to call. I think you really need to find out what the speed, and maybe look at the match in running, see how the first opening couple of games going, and if it's quick, I think it probably will be quick given the time of day. Garcia has the advantage, and if it's slow or the weather conditions change. Well, the weather conditions like tomorrow, Roy, is it going to be a little bit cooler?
Yeah, they've not been particularly hot all week. I think it's sort of early 20s has been the temperature. Not really conducive to fast or slow courts. I mean, tomorrow, it's a bit cooler tomorrow, actually. Maximum temperature is 20 degrees. So, yeah, it shouldn't be too quick. I think Kalinina's got a chance. She has to play well, obviously, but it's a very tricky one, this one.
Yeah, difficult one to call. So we're not advising a bet on that. Kalinina, slight lean to bounce back from the disappointment last week, but obviously, if it is quick, Garcia has the advantage here. Next match, Kudermetova against Coco Gauff. This is probably the best match of the day, really, when you look at it. Coco Gauff is obviously the US Open champion. She's come in here and she hasn't played. She played Alexandrova. I thought she gave her some tests. So unlucky not to cover the 4.5 spread there. I mean, that was a heartbreak, really. Martic, give her a real tough game. The veteran, you would say Martic's a bit of a veteran now. She gave her a real tough test. And Kudermetova is the woman in form. I mean, she won in Tokyo. She got a bye. Obviously, we spoke about that. She's quite fresh. Don't worry about that. She got through the second round. Had her struggles against Serenko. But Kudermetova here is an overwhelming outsider. She's plus 210. Coco Gauff is minus 275. They have met twice before. The head-to-head is 1 win apiece. I mean, I think Coco Gauff is going to be a public play, but both matches they played before, in both this year in Doha and Stuttgart, have been long matches. They've gone all the way, and I can see this one going a long way. I mean, I lean towards Kudermetova, but I think the total here at 21.5 on the over minus 106 is probably the way I would go. It's cashed them both in the matches this year. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm surprised to see Gauff as short as she is. And she's made, as you've said, she's made hard work of her first 2 matches. Martic served for the match yesterday. Almost the story of her career. She couldn't get it done. I mean, Gauff showed great fight to get through yesterday. Her athleticism, her retrieving's fantastic. As you say, she's up against an in-form opponent. Kudermetova won Tokyo last week. She beat Swiatek and then Jessica Pegula in the final. Against Serenko, she was out of sorts in the first set and then brilliant in the second too. She won, she was 3-6, 6-love, 6-love. Serenko didn't play that badly, but when she's serving this well, she's very hard to play against. Her forehand's working beautifully. As I was saying, her big serves were flying through the baseline, ball just sits up. So it looks like this surface is actually suiting her. It's just giving her that little bit extra time to hit through the ball. And Gauff doesn't have the weapons Kudermetova has. As you said, they're both their meetings this year, and that's their 2 meetings in the career, both went the distance. Kudermetova won in really windy conditions in Doha, 6-2, 3-6, 6-1. In Stuttgart, no wind there because it's indoors, but the American won a final set tiebreak. I have to say, I've tried to get Gauff beat twice already this week. I backed Martic yesterday, and obviously that didn't come through. It's got to be third time lucky, I'm thinking. I think Kudermetova's too big at plus 210. I think she's a good play on the money line. I'm also really tempted by over 2.5 cents, given that both the previous meetings have gone 3. I don't think there's a hell of a lot between them. I do fancy Kudermetova to win, but over 2.5 sets at plus 160 is a big price to my eyes. So I have 2 plays for me: Kudermetova to win at plus 210 and over 2.5 sets at plus 160.
We're looking at Kudermetova here. She's ending the season really well. When players end the season really well, we cast one eye ahead to the Australian Open. Looking at Kudermetova, what you've seen of her so far, the way she's playing, the confidence, if she can beat Gauff here and get through and go, even I'm going a little bit ahead of myself here, but say she can go deep in this tournament, maybe even win it back-to-back tournaments. Is this a marker for the Australian Open as well?
It could be, but she's really flattered to deceive at slams. I mean, she went out early in the French, having been in good form. She just hasn't got as far as she should have done in slams. And I don't know if it's a pressure thing, but she's never really delivered. But form-wise, she certainly played well enough to be in the conversation. I mean, she's got all the attributes to be, a slam contender. She's got a big game. She hits it hard off both wings. She's got a great forehand. Her serve is very, very good on its day. I mean, it's probably one of the top. She's probably one of the top 5 servers in women's tennis when it's working. She's only 26, so there's still progress.
That's ancient
to come,
in tennis.
hopefully.
That's ancient in tennis.
Well,
that's old in tennis world.
some
Not an hour
some
world,
are
in tennis
late
world, that's
bloomers.
old.
Some are late bloomers, and
well,
she has all the attributes. I mean, she has recently linked up with Dmitry Tursunov, who had a great run with Annette Kontaveit, took her to number 2 in the world. So maybe that is having an impact. I mean, she's always been a bit flaky and up and down in form. I remember in Madrid, she had a really good run in Madrid. She'd shown no form before Madrid, and then out of nowhere, I think she reached the semi-finals and went out to Swiatek fairly quickly. But she's showing a bit more consistency now, so maybe she can translate that to a slam. I mean, her best showings quarterfinals in the French last year. She went out in round 2 at Wimbledon, which you'd think would be a surface that would suit her, but for some reason it hasn't come together at slams. But you never know. Next year could be the year.
I've looked at the odds of her. She's 20-1, and I'm not interested in that price. I thought she might be 50.
I'm not interested at 20-1.
I think if she was 50-1, I might have a little bit of a sneaky couple of dollars on her each way now at the 50-1, but at 20-1, no, not for me. Thank you very much.
Plenty short enough.
Sakkari against Wang. Wang obviously got the local support, did really well in the last match. She beat Kasatkina, real battled in that match. I actually bet her in that match in play. She really did play well, actually. She gave Kasatkina a bit of a thumping, especially in the second set. First set was quite tight, and then she come out in the second set and she really took it. And the crowd were going crazy. So that's a huge factor for her. And she up against Sakkari, though, was in decent form. Sakkari reached the semi-finals last week again in Tokyo. The thing is with this one is that obviously Sakkari's had a bye through to the first round again. I like this. We said about the bye. The players who got through to the semi-finals the week before get a bye on these tournaments here on the Asian swing, which I think is a good thing, but a lot of people are undecided by that. But she got beat by Pegula in the semi-finals in a pretty poor performance. But Sakkari is one of these players that she can be hit or miss here. And I don't think she really likes the pressure. And I with the home support here, I think Wang's got a little bit of a fighter's chance. She's plus 205. Sakkari's minus 265. Not quite convinced I'd probably bet Wang on the money line. But on the spread, plus 3.5, minus 104, total 21.5. I can see this going long, and I certainly give Wang a chance of getting a set. I don't know where you're thinking, if you're agreeing with me or disagreeing with this one, Rory.
Yeah, I've not had a bet on this, but I totally see where you're coming from. I mean, the bet I sort of looked at and thought was possible was the handicap Wang plus 3.5 games. Very interesting. She's played really well of late. I backed her a couple of tournaments back. She backed her in Osaka, and she lost to Lin Zhu in the semi-finals. But yeah, she's in really good form. She's in the top 40 now. She swept aside Kasatkina yesterday, as you said. Sakkari, she won that WTA 1000 in Guadalajara. As I've said before, that was a 1000 in name only. And the vast majority of the top names were missing. Fair play to her. She took full advantage. But two things. One, the surface, I think, suits her. Because it gives her time to unleash that forehand. But she is flaky. She can be very flaky. And home crowd support for Wang, this is a potential shock. I'm not going to have a bet on it, but I don't think anyone should be backing Sakkari at minus 265. I mean, that's a very risky price. It's a very short price. Could be an interesting one. Could be one to back in play. Yeah, if I had to have a bet, it would be Wang on the handicap. But I mean, I looked at overs games. That's quite high at 21.5. That's higher than I would have expected for the disparity in the money line odds. But I think this is one I'm going to leave alone, to be honest.
Yeah, this match starts at 4 a.m. in the morning. There is 29 different markets available. Bet Rivers, total games won by Wang, over 11.5 maybe. Wang to win a set, you can bet that, but it is minus money. It's minus 139. Probably better value. I think the games are a bet here. I think Wang's got a chance. I even think Wang might win the first set. Wang to win the first set could be of interest, and then get that crowd behind her and Sakkari to come through with a proven more experience on the bigger occasion. The next match is an interesting one here. I mean, this is look at the betting. It's the most heavily favoured of the day. It's the new world number one, Sabalenka. She's up against Jasmine Paolini, the Italian. Sabalenka is minus 1,250 to win this match. You could put $1,250 on to win $100. And Paolini is 8-1 to win the match. Now, Paolini is just outside the top 32 in the world. I mean, she's literally like one good win here. She's in the 32 in the world. She's a seeded player. She's had a very, very good year, best year of her career. And she's got a good record against Sabalenka. They've met 3 times before. She leads 2-1 in the head-to-head. The one thing that's caught my attention is that in the 3 matches they played, the total games they've been long matches. 26 first set, 35, 20, 35, 30, and 26, and the amount of total games that they've played here. So that was the market. Let's start again. 35, 30, 35, 20, and 36. I'll get there in the end. So I've got it wrong again. 35, 20, and 36. I've written my notes. 2 and a 3, and it looks like a 2 or 3. Anyway, I'll get there in
26.
35, 20, and 26 are the total games makeup in these matches when these two are played. Now, tomorrow, you've got a decent offering here. The total games with Bet Rivers is 18.5, and over is minus 107. The spread is 6.5. Paolini minus 130, Sabalenka plus 102 minus 6.5. But that 18.5 total has really caught my attention, Rory.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, this just looks priced wrong. I mean, and you can see why it's priced that way. Sabalenka's the world number 1, Paolini's outside the top 30, etc., etc. The Italian won their last meeting at Indian Wells last year. That was 2-6, 6-3, 6-3. Sabalenka served 10 double faults in that one. Sabalenka won when they met indoors in Linz in 2020. The first clash was in 2017. It's probably too old to really count. But Sabalenka won 6-4, 6-4 when they met in Linz in 2020. She served 11 aces to 4 double faults. Remember last year when Sabalenka was having all sorts of problems with her serve, and she's a lot better now, but it's still not perfect. Paolini is a massive underdog, but she does seem to enjoy playing Sabalenka more than most. I think the conditions play to her strengths. I was mentioning Indian Wells. So these two met in Indian Wells. That's kind of why I made the analogy, because I was watching some of that Indian Wells match earlier. The conditions do play to Paolini's strength because it gives her time to run around and play her forehand. That's definitely her best shot. Sabalenka's first serve percentage has been high so far at 60%. That's pretty good. Paolini really likes to go after her second serve. And she has done in their previous meetings. And you'd think Sabalenka would tee off on Paolini's second serve like she does to so many people, but she hasn't managed it when they've met before. And I think it's because Paolini likes to throw in a kick serve on the second serve. And that worked in Indian Wells, and it's working here. I mean, if you've seen any of the action, the kick serves really jump up. And you've even seen, like on the baseline, you've seen the odd moon ball thrown in there because it does have this high kind of slow bounce. Now, if Sabalenka brings her A game, she probably wins this comfortably. On all known form, she's a superior player. She's world number 1. If she's a little bit below par, this is dangerous for her. And she knows Paolini has given her problems before. I like overs games. I'm actually going to be a bit more adventurous. I'm going to go for over 19.5, which again would have cashed in all 3 previous meetings. That's plus 132, which to me looks absolutely massive. So much so that I'm making it a 2-point bet. And I'm going to have a point on Paolini to win. I just think plus 800 is far too big a price, given their previous history, given that Paolini's having the season of her life. Okay, Sabalenka's world number 1. You could argue she's having the season of her life as well. But from what I saw of that Sabalenka against Bolter in the previous round, Sabalenka's beatable. It's not as quick as I thought it was. I thought it was going to be quicker. I thought Sabalenka would race through these early rounds. But that's not proven to be the case. I mean, she did play really well against Kenin, served fantastically well. Paolini just might have the answer on this surface. And I think, the prices are there. They're definitely tempting because, it's one of those where you could argue the prices should be a lot lower. In the long run, if you're backing things at a bigger price they should be, you'll eventually win, But I think this is one of those where you've just got to think, these prices are too big. You've got to have a go.
So all your eggs are in the Paolini basket this week. So we got Paolini to win,
so.
1 unit on the money line at $8 and over 19.5 games at plus 130. Did you say
132?
132, even better. So we got 2 bets on the Sabalenka. I agree. I would go down the 18.5 though. I'll just play the 18.5 and be happy with the 18.5. But I would play that. But I do think that the angle, the total games there, I think Kudermetova and Coco Gauff could be another one for overs. Zachary Wang, another one for potentially overs. And Kalanina Garcia, I wouldn't have a clue where that one was going to go. So I wouldn't touch that one, the large ball.
No.
Just have a look at the draw though, Rory, before we go. Sabalenka and Paolini, the winner of that will play Rybakina in the quarterfinals. We already know one quarterfinal, Ostapenko against Samsonova. Zachary and Wang will play the winner of Kudermetova or Gauff, and Kalanina Garcia will play the winner. The Kalanina or Garcia, the winner of that will play Swiatek. So that's the draw in the draw order. The outright odds will be available with Bet Rivers in the next hour or so, and they'll be live when this video goes live as well. If you were looking for someone to win the tournament, where would your money be heading?
To be honest, and it depends what price she is. And this comes with a government health warning. Jelena Ostapenko. I really think she's got a chance here because it's not too quick. She's not going to get overpowered by the really big hitters. And the ball just sits up perfectly for her. She absolutely marmalized Jessica Pegula in the last round. I mean, it was
marmalade,
just incredible.
Marmalade. What's marmalade?
6-4, 6-2. She thrashed her. And Pegula, you'd think.
To Google that. Another word I need to Google. Marmalade. I thought it was what you put on your toast. Marmalade.
Yeah, I think you make marmalade out of some things, But she was so good in that match, and I really thought Pegula would do well. And that's kind of because we know Pegula's so good in quicker conditions. That proves that kind of goes to sort of prove that they're not massively quick conditions. I mean, Ostapenko struggled in her opening round against Eva-Lise from Germany. She just had one of those games. And that's the thing with Ostapenko. It's just a matter of her stringing 2 performances together. I just think this is a really, really difficult tournament to call because the pace of the courts are interesting, let's say. The harder hitters have a better chance. And it could just be set up for someone like Ostapenko to just smash the ball past everyone. And she can do that. The only problem is her unforced errors. If she can keep them down, I mean, you can say the same about Rybakina as we saw today against Andreeva. As soon as she cut out the unforced errors, she steamrolled her. Sabalenka against Paolini, she has to keep the unforced errors down. She has to get plenty of first serves in. It's a really, really wide open tournament. Pretty much everyone's got a chance. But depending on the price, I might be tempted by Ostapenko.
Just one little quick thing. I've mentioned it when we spoke last week, or it was last week, wasn't it? It was the fact that people who are trying to get into the race, the end of the tour championship starts in Cancun at the end of this month. A win for Zachary will take her within touching distance of Mukova, who's injured at the moment. So she can go into 8th spot. She's currently 9th spot. She'll get in the race. So Zachary's got huge an incentive to win this. And Ostapenko would need to win the tournament to go more or less on level with Mukova as well. So if she wants to get into that tour championships, Ostapenko has to win this event as well. So Zachary and Ostapenko are 2 players in this draw who have huge incentives this week, whereas a lot of players just want to ease down. Coco Gauff's won what she wanted to win. She's qualified for the year-end championship. Sabalenka's qualified. She's wanted to be world number 1. She's number 1. So Zachary and Ostapenko are the 2 players that have everything to play for over the next few days in Beijing. Rory, thank you very much as always for joining us.
Enjoy. Thanks, I'm just wondering, can Kudermetova get in? Is she got
no? She's 15th. If she wins, she will go about 9th as well. But she'll go probably 10th. Right. She'll go with Zachary. But really, a win for Zachary will take her up to ahead of Vondrousova. She'll go up to 6th. And a win for a win for Ostapenko would take her more or less level with Mukova And with Mukova injured, she only needs to pick up a couple of tournaments, and she will go ahead of Mukova. So they're the two real players. Kudermetova can, you know, she's a good incentive for her, but I think she's probably going to struggle to break in. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, Rory. Rory mentioned the Tour Championship there. That'll be the next time we speak, Rory. At the end of the month, we're going to be speaking about the WTA Tour Championships over in Cancun, the new venue for the Tour Championship. Hopefully, see Zachary. Hopefully, Ostapenko's there for all his money's on it because he needs to win this to be there. So if Ostapenko is in Cancun, Rory will be a very happy bunny. Looking at those 4 ways to follow us here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, you can download the podcast, which is Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, on your preferred podcast provider. Follow our YouTube channel, which is Betting Weekly Studios. A huge amount of content on there. Loads and loads and loads of you have subscribed over the last week. So thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy what we're having there. There's a huge amount of stuff this weekend as well with the soccer all around Europe. And also you can follow us on our socials, on our Instagram page and on our Twitter page. We share the same handle @Because We Win. Rory, I hope a hand doesn't come out that cupboard there and take you off to Narnia before we speak about Cancun. But good luck for the remainder of the tournament. And listen, mate, it's been a joy chatting to you over the last few months, and we'll speak to you for the finale at the end of the month. Take care. Have a good weekend, and good luck, everybody, with your bets, and we'll speak to you very soon. Back tomorrow with Sean Calvert looking at the men's tennis over in Shanghai.